Recently, I've been noticing a lot of videos surfacing about people trashing on Spider-Man 2 or just criticizing the game in general. I just wanted to hop in and add my own opinion to the matter. I remember when Spider-Man 2 was announced, I was so hyped. I'm sure everybody watching this video was hype as well. Nothing will deny the hype surrounded to this game. I even bought the $200 version of this game. That's how hype I was. But for me, when October 20th rolled around and I could finally play the game, I couldn't help but just feel disappointed. I played the first game so many times and I just fell in love with it. Miles Morales, while not being the best received, is still one of my favorite games within this trilogy so far. But when it came to Spider-Man 2, I didn't like it. The story just wasn't there for me. But don't get me wrong, when I was playing the game, I had fun. I loved it. Just after I finished it, I was asking myself, now what? Because Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is half the length of the first game and double the length of the Miles Morales game. Considering that, the biggest complaint from the Miles Morales game is that the story is too short. That same complaint goes to this one. It's just too short. Way too short for the story they were trying to tell. With Venom and Craven, they were cramming too much into a 20-hour story, which what should have been a 40-hour story. All right, now let's get into the specifics. The side content. One of the highlights of the first game was its rich and engaging side content. From stopping random crimes to uncovering random secrets. There was always something interesting to do in the first game. And in Spider-Man 2, the side content is the same, but less. The substance just isn't there. The side missions in this one just lack the depth and the character that the first game's activities did great. You could argue that some of the side missions in this game had some amazing world building and really told the stories of people who live in New York. And I would totally agree with you. Some of those side missions in the second game are one of the best parts of the second game. But I'm not arguing against those missions. What I'm arguing about is the random crimes, the Mysterio battles, and the Prowler hideouts. I just did not enjoy doing these missions. In fact, I was skipping them and just saving them for the end because I just didn't want to do them. There had to be a better way to do the side content in this game. But I get it, you know? The first game also had side content that people just weren't a fan of. But because this game is the sequel, where sequels are meant to improve on everything from the previous iteration, this game just repeats the same old content. Literally, when I was playing the second game, I just felt like I was playing the first game. And I know it's a big joke going around, but honestly, this game felt like DLC to me. Now I can already hear you guys saying, oh, you expect a big change. You want Spider-Man to go to Washington. You want him to go to California. That is not what I'm trying to say. Just get creative with the crimes. Do stuff that people have been wanting, like bank robberies where you have to sneak in. Have some criminals break out of the raft. Like, you could introduce some of the less obvious Spider-Man villains. Remember when Big Wheel was heavily rumored to be in this one? Exactly. But also just keep in mind, a lot of this is just easier said than done. I'm not a game developer, so maybe the stuff that I want is just super hard to implement. But either way, like, you could just get creative with it, you know? Like, you don't need to rehash the same things from the first game. I would love to see some new content. If they were trying to improve everything gameplay-wise, I feel like the side missions should have been a huge part of that. Because a lot of the gameplay, when you're not doing the story, is you swinging around. And then the crimes that happen, that's part of the gameplay. And that part was just not improved at all. The next section, the characters. The characters is also another part that the game just falters in. In the first game, Peter Parker's journey from the beginning to the end was very emotional and powerful. Losing his aunt, his mentor, while also upholding the city as Spider-Man. It's a lot to hold. And Miles' story in his game was very heartfelt and compelling, dealing with the themes of responsibility, friendships, and community. However, Miles in the second game, he's the same person that he was when he started the game. It's like the writers didn't know what to do with Miles now that he's been established as a Spider-Man and he's not struggling with that identity anymore. I know he was struggling with balancing his college life and his Spider-Man life, but all that was just pushed aside. The only time that was really shown in the story was when he was on his laptop trying to think of a college essay. The rest of it is in the side content, so if you don't play the side content, you just miss all of that. But in the end, it doesn't even matter because Peter Parker just gives Miles the Spider-Man mantle full time. Like, what? There is no argument for Miles having a character arc in this game. He was struggling with college in the beginning of the game, and that was never resolved. He's still struggling with at the end of the game. If anything, he's struggling with it more because he is full-time Spider-Man. Okay, let's say that they pushed aside Miles in this game to focus on Peter's story arc. Okay, it's still nothing compared to the first game. I think it's great that he's finally getting a happy ending. It's just not interesting. I'm sorry to say it, guys, but Peter's most interesting stories are when he's at his breaking point, where he is alone and he's lost everything. Spider-Man is low-key a depressing character, and that's why a lot of people flock to him, because it's interesting. We don't want to see our heroes succeeding all the time. I'm not saying that Peter in the Insomniac games is succeeding all the time, but it's not interesting. It's not satisfying. Most of our favorite characters in fiction don't get happy endings. Hey guys, Editing Zeth here. I just want to add on to what I was trying to say in the video. The reason why happy endings just sometimes aren't interesting is because they don't feel deserved. A lot of the times writers will just put a happy ending like, oh, and they lived happily ever after, just because they're trying to end the story. And that's what it felt like in this. The happy ending just didn't feel deserved at all. The stakes in this game just weren't felt. And I get it, like Venom was trying to take over the whole world. It was it was super stressful on Peter. But the thing is, this all comes back to the length of the game. The game was 20 hours. That's not enough time to soak in what is truly happening. And in truth, the whole Venom segment taking over the whole world was like the last 3 hours of the game. Like, that's not even a third of the whole game's storyline, you know? So yeah, that's what I'm just trying to say. I'm trying to say it's not interesting if they give the character a happy ending, if it's not deserved. It's just storytelling, and having a happy ending in the second game just doesn't work well. If anything, that happy ending should have been placed at the end of the third game. It just doesn't work well in the middle of a story they're trying to tell. So now let's get into the technical issues. I encountered numerous bugs and glitches that were just annoying. A lot of the time I had to restart from the last checkpoint, so I had to redo a section that I just did. The worst part is that these issues are still in the game. I played through the game again for this video, and I still had to restart from the last checkpoint. I don't know what it is, but this game, 8 months later, still is as buggy and glitchy as it was before. It's just incredibly annoying that these games are being released with all these bugs. But let's get into the emotional impact. I've tackled some of this earlier, but one of the reasons why the first game resonated with a lot of people, not just me, was its emotional impact. The relationship between Peter and Aunt May, and Peter losing Aunt May, was tragic. Like, Otto and Peter's relationship turning from mentors to enemies, it was fantastic. That is storytelling at its peak. Spider-Man 2, however, just lacked all of it. The story beats just feel predictable, and the emotional moments just don't hit as hard. They're not taking the risks that they did in the first game. Like, in the first game, they took a lot of risks. They killed Aunt May in the first game. It just seems like when they're making this game, they just toned it down, way down, to make it seem more family friendly or just more appealing to the general audience. They called this game the Empire Strikes Back of the Spider-Man trilogy. This game is not the Empire Strikes Back. The Empire Strikes Back has tons of emotional impact, tons of risks that they took. They revealed that Darth Vader was Luke Skywalker's dad. And what did they do in this game that was similar to that? I can't think of anything. If they're trying to say like, oh, Harry was Peter's best friend and now he's his enemy. It's not the same. I don't know Harry. Who the hell is Harry? I know who Harry is. We don't know him in the game, and we don't have enough time with him, really care about him. It's different in the first game because we see how great Otto is throughout the game. We see his progression. With Harry, it's just, we see him, he comes back from a coma, from being sick. It's just frustrating, and I really hope for the third game that they really just reel it in and just not hold back on any of the punches. At the end of the day, when I was first playing the game, I had a lot of fun, and I think that's all that matters. I thank you guys so much for watching. This is my first ever time doing a video like this. So let me know in the comments or just by leaving a like if you guys like this type of content and if I should do more. Either way, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.